Totally. This is actually our second time coming
Mhm.
back into my channels. And then we've been dabbling in other people's channels together. Like PPA, I'll give you a shout out. Thank you so much for having me come speak there.
Love
Um,
PPA.
Today is all about speakers, which is the vast majority of the NGNG audience. And I have brought in somebody extremely special who's going to talk about the path to main stage and how we're going to grow our speaker fees, like what's the state of the world right now for speakers, what are event planners looking for? Like, this is coming from somebody who is a speaker agent behind several highly successful speakers out there. Our beloved Mike Michalowicz, who you guys know a lot about, Ramon Ray, Steve Anderson. So Lee, tell people a little bit more about you and how you got into this world, or what the world is looking like right now for you, your role in speaker facilitating into these different events that are happening.
I guess the most interesting thing to talk about right now is the world right now, because it's crazy. And for speakers, it's been devastating. It's been eye-opening. It's caused innovation because, right, I mean, speaking is about live interaction in one way or another. And with this insanity going on right now, I mean, in the whole world, which I think is just mind-boggling, that it's not just us, right? It's the world.
Everyone.
The
Yep.
last few months for me was canceling events. That's because one event after another was just saying, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not.
So they're
So,
not switching to virtual, they're just canceling.
well, the initial panic, right,
Yeah.
was, I guess, March, April, everyone just said, just cancel, we're frozen. Especially if they had events right then, right? Because we had
Right.
events that were in March, that were in April, and they just said, what do we do? They just cancel everything. And then after maybe 6 weeks, people started going, all right, let's go virtual, let's reschedule. And they've started, but we've gone through waves. There have been waves of cancellations. I just got 2 more cancellations today. These were events that were supposed to be early in the year. They rescheduled for this
Oh
fall
no.
and now said, we still can't do it. And they wanted to go live. And now it's like, because they replanned everything for live, they said, we're not going to go virtual because we've already replanned it. So they're just canceling for the year. They're going to 2021.
See, now I'm looking ahead. When everybody canceled for the fall, I thought, we're not going to be out of this by the fall. I'm looking ahead and thinking maybe the speaking world starts opening up like a year from now. Do you have any sense of, like, what's your gut instinct on when it's going to change again?
It's really hard to say because I'm in the Northeast, right? I'm in Connecticut, and my world is a lot different than other people in other parts of the country. I mean, I was talking to some people in Georgia and they're like, we're just, so we don't have any restrictions down here. We're not isolating. We're not using masks. I'm going, oh my God.
Wow.
So that's still the mentality, is like, oh, let's just go for it. However, my speakers, like, interesting. So Mike Michalowicz, he just goes somewhere. If you travel out of state, when you come back, you have to be in quarantine again, or whatever they call it. You have to self-quarantine. So even parts of the country that are trying to open up, if you're a speaker from another part of the country where you do have restrictions, it's very difficult to go. So yeah, I'm thinking at least 2021. I mean, I know nothing about medicine, right? But my feeling is when we have a vaccine that works, that's going to be the tipping point. But that's just, I don't know.
It's such a strange world. I mean, I just got back from Austin about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was nervous because I thought I have no idea what happens outside of my home. Like, are the airports going to be empty? Is it going to be different? And honestly, I walk in the airport, it looks like it always did. People are kind of crammed into the train on the way to the terminal.
Oh,
And then you
geez.
get to the terminal, there's people everywhere. A lot of shops inside of the airport were shut down. I went onto the plane and it was Denver to Austin, and the middle rows, like, they don't book the middles, but everybody was on the aisle and the window seats. It was packed, full flight. Now they make you wear your mask the whole time, which is fine. And they are definitely sanitizing more. So props to Southwest. But other than that, like, it was a very normal experience, which surprised me because I was expecting people not to be out and about as much. When I went to Austin, half of the places were shut down. A lot of the restaurants were takeout only, which I thought was interesting. And then coming back into Denver, like I've gone to a couple of restaurants, packed, overbooked. It's like people are definitely out in the world. And I'm wondering, like, gosh, in the speaking world, like, oh, I just keep wondering what's happening. So what we do know is that it's switching virtual. A lot of virtual events are happening, but the downside, Lee, is that speakers are not making nearly the same payment
Oh, heck
as they
no.
would.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. Like what are you observing right now in terms of what speakers can get paid for, if anything?
Oh, wow. So rates are way down. And it's funny because the other day I had a speaker arguing with me. She goes, but I don't have to do any less preparation. I expect to be paid as much as I was on stage. I get that, but here's the kicker. A lot of events, they're either not charging people to attend or they've cut the attendance rate. So if you were going to go live, they might say, well, a live event is $600. Now we're only charging $149 for virtual. So how can they possibly pay the same speaker fees if they themselves are getting a fraction of the revenue? So I mean, my speakers so I have a range of speakers, right? I have speakers who are emerging speakers who are at the $5,000 range. And then I have people who are solid, who are at the $35,000 range because they're, international bestsellers, blah, blah, blah. So I have that whole range. But right now, you know what they're all getting? 5,000, 10,000, maybe. Like my bigger speakers are getting 10, maybe 15 for a virtual event. That's the top. I have not booked anybody over 15 for a virtual event.
I'm even surprised it's that high.
Yeah. Oh, and that's an exception. So when I say for a virtual event, that was not a 60-minute event. That was a 4-hour block of speaking, Q&A, panel. So it was a half-day event. So they paid for that, but they normally would have made $35,000 or $40,000 for that live. So if you look at it that way, it's a third, a quarter of what they're used to making. And a lot of these big corporations, so where I'm having the most luck placing speakers are companies who are doing virtual series. And virtual series, they're paying $2,500 to $5,000 per event. That's it. And some pay less.
Now, have you observed too that the amount of speaking gigs available has decreased as well? Is it true that companies aren't doing as many even virtual events, or does that feel about the same?
At this point, for my stable, it's coming back up. It's not quite at the volume that it was, but we're getting there. If I look at my book of bookings for my speakers, my book is starting to look pretty good. But they're such smaller dollar. It's for the same 10 events, you're making 25% of the amount. So, but excuse me, the volume is coming up though. I am starting to see these things. And a lot of it, again, is because speaker series. And I keep pushing companies to do speaker series, saying, look, if you want, because a lot of the people who are now saying, we need to cancel till 2021. We can't do it. We don't have the audience. I'll say, that's fine. But if you wait a whole year, you need to do something. You can't just say, see you next year. I said, your members are going to go somewhere else, because if they're getting something somewhere else, they're going to get it. So I'm trying to talk to, these bigger corporate groups and associations and all that and say, look, I know you're paying less. I know you're doing less, but do something. You need to maintain your audience because you need to bring them something.
Wow. That's very smart of you. Very, very smart. I love that. Wow. Love that a lot. I almost start to travel in my mind, if this whole industry is disrupted, even if it's temporary, what else a speaker could be doing to bump up that fee. So just hypothetically speaking, let's say that I'm a speaker and I'd come in and I'm doing this event, however they need me to show up, for $2,500. Do you think there's an opportunity to, almost like a menu, offer additional options to get a higher fee? Like, oh, well, I could also give this small course to your members, or I could also come in and do a private Q&A session a week later. Do you see there being any opportunity to add additional value when pitching a speaker? Do you think that would fly?
So yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, so here's the thing, whether you're going to do a virtual event or whether you're going to do a live event, I try to be really careful not to nickel and dime the client, right? Because I've seen speakers do that. They'll say, well, I'll speak, but if you want a promo video, that's another $100. If you want 2 headshots, that's another $50. You know what I mean? They start nickeling and diming little things.
No, right.
That's it. But it's like those things are expected. Once you've said, I'm going to speak, you should go all in and be like, yes, I'm going to help promote. Yes, I'm going to do a promo video. That, of course, that's included. But to your point, I think you can add other value items that bring true value, right? That are beyond. So yes, if you have a course you can offer. I have some events now that I've said, look, they'll do less, but can they pitch right on it? And I think you can pitch elegantly without feeling salesy. So, all right, I'm sorry, I'm going off track here. So no, there's sell from the stage, right? So there's sell from the stage, and then there's teaching from the stage, but getting residual sales. So 2 different things. And I think the same thing on camera. You don't want to sell to the audience. You don't want to withhold. So selling from the stage basically is you tell people what they need to do, but you never tell them how to do it.
Right.
So after you talk for an hour, right? People go, yeah, that's what I need.
Yeah.
And then they're completely left high and dry. And if they don't buy your product, they're done. So I wouldn't do that because people feel ripped off and the client feels ripped off unless you're hired to do that specifically. Like some clients hire you to do that, but unless they do, don't do it. But what you can do, and what many corporations will let you do now, and associates will let you do, is say, look, I'm going to give tons of content. I'm going to give not just the what you need to do, but the how you need to do it. But may I also mention that I have a consulting? May I mention I have a book? You know, I say like 90 seconds. That at the end, you're going to say, look, I gave you all this stuff. If you want even more, if 1 hour wasn't enough for you, please go check out Amazon and my book, How to Do It Better. And if you do it sort of right, it's like the 2/3 point of your webinar, you can make sales that way, and that's going to help you. And then again, to your point, what you said as far as doing extra things for corporations, absolutely. I mean, I would say, you know, hire me as a speaker, but do you realize I also offer, you know, training. I also offer whatever, and do more with them. I mean,
why not?
Even as yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, you're offering, right? Say, look, I know we're in tough times right now. I know you're dying for something to give your employees or give your members. Here's something I can help you with, and do it aside from the speaking, right? So yeah, my speaking is $2,500, but I have this training program that it would be a great help to you. Could we talk about that too?
It does seem like the way forward for speakers is to just get more innovative and creative, right? Like
that is
step
key.
1, yes, accept that a change has occurred, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of speakers are like just waiting around for it to return back to the way it was. And it's like, no, man. And we don't even know when that's going to happen anyway. So unless you're planning on getting a completely different career, you know, that's not the solution. So the first thing is you have to accept what happened and what is right now. But I think the second thing is talking to really, really smart people like Lee and like, how can we get creative here? You know, really thinking about your customer, right? The company that you're going to speak for, and really asking them almost, I wonder, could you do like a pre-call before you go speak?
Absolutely. Always do a pre-call. Pre-calls are golden.
Yeah. And then you can like really ask them like, where are you hurting right now? Like what is most needed right now in your organization? Then you have maybe a strategic coach that you hire on the side. That's like, okay, so here's the variables that we're working within for this client that I'm about to go speak for. Like what other things could we present to them that's a value add that fixes a problem that they are currently faced with based on my expertise and my topic. So even if you have to hire somebody that's a strategic coach to help you come up with those value add items that you can present, get a bigger speaking gig, offer more value. I mean, it feels like that's what I would be doing if I were a speaker right now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I think it's a great thing that some speakers are doing nothing right now, because they're opening opportunity for the speakers who are go-getters.
True.
You know, I think this is the great leveling
It is.
phenomenon that we're in right now, that if you are a hustler, you're going to do better than people who are going, I'll just wait till it gets better, right? I'll just wait till things are back to normal. You need to be the hustler. You need to be the innovator. Yep. And like you said, ask lots of questions of your client, but don't ask them, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to do different? Like, you need to bring solutions. Mm-hmm. So you need to say, what are your pain points? Because I'm going to solve them for you. Not, gosh, what can we do differently? Because I don't know, like, how can we make it better? So find out what their issues are, and you need to bring solutions. And innovating, I mean, even in presentations, I think you can be so innovative.
No kidding.
Right, because you mentioned PPA, and I have speakers on there who keep coming up with these cool ideas. I'm like, this is great.
Like what?
So I had one speaker that
on the spot, but
no, I have great. So I had one speaker that had a smart board, and he had the smart board right next to him. So instead of sticking slides on the board, he just backed up a little bit. He had the board next to him, and he was writing stuff on the board as he's talking. So you felt like you were in the room with him, because he was doing things on a smart board. And so he had slides, but he was standing in the room with his slides live, and he was touching the board and making them move. And it was like, this is cool. Yeah, it was a smart board. So he was like,
presentation.
Yeah, because it was like a presentation board. He's like, look at this. And he's like moving things, and you're watching going, yeah, schools have these things now, smart boards, where you can actually,
oh my gosh,
it's like touch screens. But so instead of just having a slide which took over the screen,
right? Because
I find them, oh my God, right? When there's a slide there, I just tune out. Totally. But it was moving, and it was him, and he was doing it. And I was like, that's brilliant. So there's one idea.
Love it.
Another guy, I forget, I think it was called, I don't have the notes in front of me. I think it's lightbox.com. Don't quote me on that. Sorry. Yeah, if somebody's Googling it right now, you're gonna have to look a little more. But what he did is he had a glass panel between him and the camera. And it's a little more difficult than that, because you have to use a mirror to reverse it so it's writing forward. As he wrote on the, he was writing around himself. So it was him, his background was black, and then he had fluorescent markers, and he was writing notes around the screen. Like, how cool is that?
That is so cool.
See?
Oh my gosh.
Like, super innovative. And then one of my speakers is a Grammy nominated pianist, right? He's worked with Madonna and Santana and blah, blah, blah. When he does a webinar, he has a 3-camera shoot. Like, this is money now. I understand.
Wow, totally.
But he's got 3 cams set up. He has somebody over there working it for him, and he has one behind his hands, because he's a piano player. So when he's playing, you get a close up of his hands.
Oh my gosh.
When he's speaking, because he's a speaker, you get him. And then they have a third one, which is sort of like this studio, because he has a big studio with a grand piano. Oh. So again, it's expensive, but how innovative that it's not just the talking head, right? It's moving, it's doing. So you go to an event, you go to a corporation, you say, I know you need to do virtual, but you can put this on the big screen, or you can have people watch, and I'm going to have a 3-camera shoot, and other people are going, I'll be a talking head. And they're like, which one should I go with?
Wow.
So be innovative, folks. You need to think of exciting ways to have the audience go, what are you doing? You know?
Wow. So, right there. Oh my gosh, that part of this presentation was unbelievable. This part of this conversation. Okay, so everybody who's watching, please do me a favor and start a watch party. Bottom right corner of the screen, click start watch party. What will happen is it will notify your friends that this event is happening right now. What Lee just spoke about, every single business owner, speaker, anybody who's doing any kind of video podcast, live streaming, any type of video recording, even Zoom meetings, everybody needs to know what Lee just said. That was amazing. Totally got me thinking in a very different way. So thank you very much for that. That was awesome.
And and there are even inexpensive little things you can do that are fun. Like, I had a speaker who used Post-it notes, and he would do things like this.
I do that. Yeah, totally.
Right? But it's cute. It's so much better than a slide.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, some people have really big budgets, but even if you don't have a big budget,
totally,
be creative. Be creative.
Yeah. And I'll give people another one. So if you're doing like a lot of live streaming, you can play around with your background and get your audience really engaged. So like, I'll just say this. I'm doing this Mondays with 𝐌𝐿𝐒𝐓 𝗪𝐀𝐝 live stream every single Monday. And so I thought I've got to make this really fun. And I made this like little cutout of Mike holding Fix This Next book. And what I do every week is I position it in a different area in my background. And then I wait to see what the audience is like. Oh, look, I found it. It's in the poppies on the second panel. And they're really into it. And then we're actually starting this whole Mess with Mike hashtag so that the audience can give us ideas on things that we can do to just mess with Mike. And we have a list, this running list of ideas. And so now Mike is catching on. We've just done our third or fourth episode on Monday. So now he's coming in trying to mess with Isaac and me. And it's like just this culture is different, right? It's just something different.
It's different. Yes. Yeah. But I like your elf on a shelf idea. That's really cute.
Yeah, it is. So Lee, tell me about Path to Main Stage. What is Path to Main Stage?
All right. So Path to the Main Stage is an online coaching program, and it's designed specifically to help emerging speakers. And when I say emerging, that's usually 7,500 and less. That's sort of my world. As far as speaking fees, and also those individuals who own businesses who you want to use speaking to grow their business.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And what it is, it's a whole lot of me. So I hope you like this.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of me going through the business. It's what I call the essential but unsexy side of the speaking business. Because you can get a lot of coaching from speakers who tell you about stage presentation, who will rewrite your keynote for you. But from where I'm sitting, which is right between 12 speakers that I work with on a regular basis, although I've placed probably 60 in the last year, different people, and also buying speaker time for my clients, right? So I'm an event integration agent. From my role, I can give you insight or people insight that they don't get from speakers. Because here's what happens.
That's true.
Right? People are on stage. They've got everybody hyped up. They get off the stage and they say to the event planner as they go down the stairs, how was it? And the event planner goes, oh, you were amazing, right? Totally. 2 days later, I call the event planner and I say, hey, I just want to debrief how to go. And they go, all right, this is what happened. And then they dump the stuff that they didn't tell the speaker. So for people who are learning speaker from speaking or speaking from speakers, the one thing they're missing is the after the event feedback, which is, and the funny thing is sometimes I'll give my speakers like even high-end speakers, I'll give them the feedback and they're like, to heck with them. They don't know what they're talking about. This is the feedback that people need to get better. Yeah. Little thing. Let me give you one little bit of feedback I've gotten. Many speakers, not a number of speakers, will use profanity on stage to be comical, right? So I'm going to pick on Mike right now because 𝐌𝐿𝐒𝐓 𝗪𝐀𝐝, your audience knows him. He was in Jamaica for the second time in a row. The same group hired him twice in a row. And the same thing, they love him, he's fabulous. And he finishes his second, the second year he finishes and he gets off and they're like, we love you, Mike. And I check with them and they're like, yeah, we love him. A year later, I contact them again. I say, hey, Mike would love to come back again this year. And they said, oh, we can't have him back. Like, you love him. You told me you love him. It's been 2 years in a row. They said, yes, he said the F word on stage. Ooh. Well, Mike always says the F word on stage. Like, it's his thing. He at least drops it once at some point and he gets a big laugh. And they got a big laugh. But what she said to me was, because of certain members who are offended by this, we cannot have anyone who uses profanity on stage. And I said, not a problem. Like, I'll tell him he won't do that. And they said, nope, it's too late. People commented that he uses profanity on stage. Ooh. So there's like one little tip to all speakers that if you happen to be an F-bomber, which that's your thing, or whatever your thing is, check with the event planner just after you sign the contract, right? You sign the contract, you're going to speak for them, and then say, I do, like you said, the pre-event call. I
Yeah.
do this on stage. I swear on stage. I unbutton my shirt. Like there's one speaker, not one of mine, a different one. He rips his shirt off on stage. That's his thing. He's that painter guy. He does painting, Eric something,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
He whips his shirt off on stage. I totally get it. But I could see that there might be certain groups who would be shocked by that and would just go, like, what just happened? So you need to make sure that what you're doing on stage is not going to offend your audience, because not only you offend them, right? They now won't give you a testimonial. And anyone who asks how you were, they're going to go, ooh, we're not hiring them back again. So those are the tips that you get from Path to the Main Stage. All these backstage things, your contract, how you negotiate, how you price yourself, who you need to talk to. And, you know, the event planner is not the living end. There is a triad of people you need to know about when you get speaking gigs. So that's all the stuff that you learn.
Okay, so I will tell the NGNG audience and viewers that I got wind of this earlier this summer and what Lee is building with Path to Main Stage. I thought it was one of the most brilliant and needed things in the speaker industry. I don't know anybody else that is doing something like this. And Lee has enormous experience because of the placement for the speakers that she has, speakers that she isn't working with regularly, but you said you've even just done 60 this year.
Yep.
You know, Lee has a very unique perspective in the speaking world. And so when she said that she wanted to build this, you know, members portal that has all of this video content telling you all of the things that nobody else will tell you, that otherwise you would have to learn hard mistake after hard mistake after hard mistake, which would cost you tens of thousands of dollars and potentially your speaking career if you don't catch on fast enough about these things. I mean, I'm just going to say it. Now she's fast tracking that into a members portal, and you're having masterclass type courses. Is that also true?
Yes. So that is still coming. In fact, I am starting to work with experts now to get the filming done. We're doing all these private webinars, but we want it to be very elegant and sexy and full of content. But yeah, you're right. What I'm doing is I'm going and finding experts in each component of speaking, right? So there's your website, your social media, how you pitch yourself, how you present yourself, what your keynote, like all these things that go into speaking. It's not just standing on stage, right? It's the business, the
Oh, yeah,
whole
totally.
thing. How, you know, how to engage an audience. Today I was working with somebody, she's doing a whole LinkedIn segment, how to set up your LinkedIn for a speaker. So I have all these experts. So if you go to the basic level, which is what's existing right now, Path to the Main Stage, it's a whole lot of me. So I've learned from all these people and I'm telling
Right.
all the things I've learned. I call it the, if I only knew then what I know now, right? Content. That's what you get through the basic one. And then hopefully 6 months from now, because I want it to be beautiful, then they're going to be like experts that you would not otherwise be able to sit down with. You're going to get the opportunity to basically be sitting in the room listening to these people just throw information at you that is so needed, all in one place, just all these resources in one place.
I think it's extremely smart. And I have already committed to telling every single speaker client, speaker friend that I have about your program, because the thing about Lee is that she's no fluff. Like she's no like, oh, well, I think this is the way it works, but I don't really know. Like Lee is no nonsense, knows her stuff. And ever since we've been connected more than a year now, I just learned so much from you each interaction. So I have to say thank you so much for just letting me be in your world, Lee.
Oh,
I think
and
you are
mine, me and
remarkable.
yours. I love it. You're the best person to connect with. You are so, God, I love your energy and how smart you are and how successful you are. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So everybody needs to go check out Path to the Main Stage. There's a video on the homepage. Lee will talk to you more about what's involved and how to get started. Just go. I mean, really, I think that even if you're thinking about becoming a speaker, get into it now so that you really know what you're getting into. It's going to save you years of headache and stress in this industry. And things are changing too. So you can expect that Lee is going to keep you updated, keep the material updated as our world evolves. She's your resource. So I just wanted to invite her in today. Definitely going to keep inviting her back because she's remarkable. But I wanted to invite her in and give the NGNG community an advantage here that you probably can't get anywhere else unless you're connected in with Lee. So Lee, thank you for your time. This was huge impact just for me. So selfishly, I'm like super excited and grateful.
Well, thank you so much. It was so great talking with you and your audience.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week live on the Elevate series. And just remember, no guts, no glory. So take action. Don't sit there like stunned sheep. Go do something with this knowledge. Tag a few friends as well. All right. Bye, everybody.